Most parents really don't realize this, but if you pay close attention to how your child struggles with reading, communication, or even simple instructions, you might actually be seeing the difference between autism and dyslexia, and most families miss it completely. The tricky part is that these two can look surprisingly similar at first. A child might avoid reading out loud, fall behind in school, or seem disconnected during certain activities. And because these behaviors can look like normal learning struggles, many parents assume it's just a phase their child will grow out of. But here's something most people don't know. Autism and dyslexia affect the brain in completely different ways. And recognizing the difference early can make a huge impact on the kind of support your child receives. Over time, specialists have noticed that there are very small behaviors, things you might see during homework, conversations, or even play that quietly reveal which one might be going on. The problem is, these signs are so subtle that even experienced teachers sometimes overlook them. So today, I'm going to walk you through 10 subtle differences between autism and dyslexia that most parents completely miss. And I'll also show you simple ways you can notice these signs at home without any special tools or complicated tests. Because once you start noticing these differences, you begin to understand your child in a completely different way. So let's start with the first one, and it often shows up during something many families do every single day: reading time. Difference number 1, reading difficulty decoding versus meaning. Imagine your child reading a simple sentence. They pause again and again, slowly sounding out each word letter by letter. For many children with dyslexia, the difficulty begins right at the word level because their brain struggles to quickly connect letters with the sounds they represent. Words that seem automatic for other children require intense concentration and effort, which can make reading feel slow and exhausting. But with many autistic children, you might notice almost the opposite pattern. They may read the words correctly, sometimes even quite fluently, yet when you ask them what the sentence means, they struggle to explain it. In this case, the decoding of the words is there, but understanding the deeper meaning behind those words becomes the challenge. So one child may struggle to read the words themselves, while another may read them perfectly but have difficulty interpreting them. To a parent looking at the page, the situation might appear very similar, but the way the brain is processing that information is actually very different. And recognizing this difference can help you better understand what your child might truly be experiencing. Difference number 2, language development delayed versus confused. Think back to your child's early language years and the way their communication first began to develop. Some parents remember their child speaking right on time and easily joining conversations, while others recall delays or language that seemed a little different from what they expected. For many children with dyslexia, early speech development often looks fairly typical. They talk, communicate, and understand everyday conversations in ways that seem completely normal for their age. The challenges usually appear later, when reading and writing become part of school and the brain has to connect letters, sounds, and words on a page. With autistic children, however, language differences may show up much earlier in development. Some children may begin speaking later than expected, while others speak on time, but use language in unusual ways. You might notice them repeating phrases they've heard before, speaking very literally, or finding it difficult to maintain the natural back and forth rhythm of conversation. In simple terms, one challenge tends to appear mainly when reading and writing begin, while the other often appears in the way communication itself develops. And once language starts interacting with the social world around your child, another important difference often becomes easier for parents to notice. Difference number 3, social communication interaction versus literacy. Imagine your child standing at a playground, surrounded by other children who are talking, negotiating rules, laughing, and moving naturally through social interactions. For many children with dyslexia, even though reading at school may be extremely challenging, their social interactions with other children often feel quite natural. They can usually understand facial expressions, pick up on jokes, and follow the natural rhythm of conversation with their peers. However, for many autistic children, social communication itself can feel much more complex. Things like understanding sarcasm, noticing changes in tone of voice, or interpreting subtle social cues may not happen automatically and may require much more conscious effort. In simple terms, one child's main challenge tends to appear in written language, particularly reading and spelling, while the other may experience more difficulty with the social side of language and communication. As children grow and school expectations become more demanding, this difference often becomes even more noticeable to parents and teachers. Before we move on to the next, and one of the most important point, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any tips that could truly help your child thrive. Difference number 4, writing challenges, spelling versus organization. Homework time rolls around, and your child is sitting down to write a short paragraph. For many children with dyslexia, the main difficulty shows up in spelling and word formation. Letters might get reversed, sounds can be mixed up, and even words they know perfectly can end up misspelled. Writing feels like a constant puzzle, where the effort is on getting the words onto the page correctly. For many autistic children, the challenge often looks quite different. Their spelling may be accurate, and the words themselves may be written correctly, but organizing thoughts into a clear, structured paragraph can be much harder. They may struggle to judge what the reader already knows, how much explanation to provide, or how to connect ideas in a way that makes sense to others. Essentially, one child is wrestling with word construction, while the other is wrestling with organizing ideas and taking the reader's perspective into account. And as we move on to how these differences show up in memory, that distinction becomes even more noticeable. Difference number 5, memory patterns sound memory versus detail memory. Memory works differently in every child's brain, and noticing these patterns can reveal a lot about how they learn. Children with dyslexia often face challenges with phonological memory, the ability to remember sequences of sounds. That's why tasks like spelling, rhyming, or following multi-step verbal instructions can feel especially difficult and exhausting. Autistic children, on the other hand, often have a very different memory profile. Many show exceptional memory for details, patterns, or topics of strong interest, recalling facts, schedules, or visual information with remarkable precision. In other words, one brain struggles more with sound-based memory, while the other can excel at remembering fine details. These differences in memory don't just affect schoolwork, they shape the way each child approaches learning, processes information, and experiences success in the classroom and beyond. If you want to dive deeper into recognizing these early signs in everyday life, you can also check out my previous video, Autism Signs You're Probably Missing Right Now, which explores subtle behaviors that can give you early insight into your child's unique brain and learning style. Difference number 6, learning style, multisensory versus pattern-based. Watch closely to see how your child learns best, because the strategies that work for one may not work for the other. In fact, research shows that multisensory processing plays a real role in both autism and dyslexia, with differences in how children integrate visual, auditory, and tactile information during learning tasks. A finding supported by a systematic review comparing sensory processing across these conditions. For many children with dyslexia, multisensory learning tracing letters while hearing sounds and seeing visual cues can help build the neural connections needed for reading and spelling. Some intervention studies even show that combining sensory reinforcement with specific teaching strategies can improve literacy skills more effectively than traditional reading instruction alone. Autistic children, on the other hand, often learn most effectively through patterns, systems, and logical structures. Once they understand a rule or sequence, they can apply it with precision and consistency. So one child's brain benefits from sensory reinforcement, while the other thrives on understanding structured patterns and systems. And it's important to notice that when frustration sets in, their emotional responses can also look very different, giving you more clues about how they experience learning. Difference number 7, emotional response to school frustration versus overload. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, school struggles can affect children emotionally in a range of ways, depending on the underlying challenges and how the child experiences academic tasks. Children with dyslexia often build up frustration around repeated struggle with reading and writing, and may feel discouraged or embarrassed when they see peers progressing faster, potentially impacting their self-confidence and motivation. For autistic children, emotional reactions at school may not stem primarily from the academics themselves, but from sensory overload, social stress, or unexpected changes in the environment, which can make classrooms and transitions feel overwhelming rather than just challenging. One response grows from academic frustration, while the other may come from environmental overwhelm. And these emotional patterns often shape what captures their attention and what they avoid next. Difference number 8. Interests and focus. Balanced versus specialized. Children with dyslexia usually have interests that shift and vary, much like those of any other child. They may enjoy sports, games, stories, or hobbies, exploring different activities over time and moving from one interest to the next. Autistic children, however, often develop deep, focused interests in very specific topics: trains, space, animals, history, or complex systems. These intense interests can become powerful sources of motivation and learning, allowing them to explore a subject with remarkable depth and persistence. Essentially, one child's attention moves broadly across many activities and experiences, while the other may dive deeply into one area at a time, focusing with intensity that can sometimes surprise parents. This difference often becomes especially visible during play, when the way a child engages with toys, games, or activities highlights the contrast between wide-ranging curiosity and deep, concentrated focus. Difference number 9. Playstyle, imaginative versus structured. Watch closely when your child plays without any adult direction, because their natural playstyle can reveal a lot about how they process the world. Children with dyslexia typically engage in imaginative, flexible play that shifts and evolves naturally with other children. Their challenges usually show up later, mostly during reading or writing tasks, rather than in the way they interact during play. Autistic children, on the other hand, often prefer structured, predictable play. They might repeat the same scenarios, organize toys in a particular way, or follow very specific rules within their play world. One child's play flows freely, exploring and adapting as the situation changes, while the other builds carefully structured systems that reflect a need for order and consistency. Observing these differences in play leads us directly to the final distinction, the one that often ties all the earlier patterns together and gives parents the clearest insight into how their child learns, communicates, and engages with the world. Difference number 10, core learning, barrier language processing versus social processing. At the deepest level, autism and dyslexia impact different core systems in the brain, and understanding this can help explain why the challenges look so different on the outside. Dyslexia primarily affects how the brain processes written language and sound relationships, making reading, spelling, and decoding the central areas of struggle. Autistic children, by contrast, experience differences in social communication, sensory processing, and flexible thinking. Language may be involved, but it is part of a much broader pattern in how they perceive and interact with the world around them. In essence, one challenge sits mainly in the reading pathways of the brain, while the other shapes how a child understands people, communication, and their environment. On the surface, some behaviors might appear similar, but the internal experience is profoundly different, and recognizing that distinction is key to providing the right support for each child. The core difference between autism and dyslexia. If you had to summarize everything we've talked about in one simple idea, it would be this. Dyslexia is primarily a learning difference that affects reading and language processing, while autism is a broader neurodevelopmental difference that influences communication, sensory experiences, and social understanding. One affects how a child reads the page, the words, and the letters. The other affects how a child reads the world around them, the people, the social cues, and the environment. As a parent, it's easy to worry when your child struggles or behaves differently than you expected, but understanding this distinction can be incredibly reassuring. It reminds us that your child is not broken or failing. They are simply navigating the world in a way that matches how their brain works. With dyslexia, support and strategies around reading and writing can unlock huge progress. With autism, helping your child understand social cues, manage sensory input, and build routines can make their everyday life calmer and more successful. Knowing this difference also changes how we respond as parents. Instead of pushing harder in areas that are naturally challenging, we can focus on supporting their strengths, guiding their learning in ways that make sense to them, and celebrating the unique ways they see and interact with the world. Every small adjustment, every moment of patience, and every understanding response helps your child thrive. So take a deep breath. Your child's brain works differently, yes, but it works And with the right support, guidance, and understanding, they can flourish in ways that are often far beyond what we first imagined. You are not alone in this journey, and noticing these differences early gives you the power to shape their path in a positive, life-changing way. Parenting strategies for autism and dyslexia support. For children with dyslexia, the most powerful support often comes from structured literacy programs, multisensory teaching methods, and early reading intervention. When these strategies are in place, many dyslexic children go on to become confident readers, strong thinkers, and creative problem solvers. Autistic children, on the other hand, often benefit most from communication tools, sensory-friendly environments, predictable routines, and spaces that respect how their brain processes the world. These supports help reduce overwhelm, build confidence, and make daily life more navigable. Despite the differences in approach, one ingredient is universal: observation, patience, and genuine curiosity about what your child is experiencing beneath the surface. When you take the time to notice the why behind their behavior, you stop simply reacting to the struggles and start responding to the needs of the brain that drives those behaviors. That shift from frustration to understanding can transform how your child experiences learning, play, and social interactions. It opens the door to growth, confidence, and connection, showing your child that they are seen, understood, and supported exactly as they are. With consistent support, understanding, and a little patience, you can help your child not just cope, but thrive in a way that respects their unique strengths and challenges. It's not about fixing them. It's about helping their brain work the way it's meant to, so they can flourish in their own remarkable way. Remember, every small step of support, patience, and understanding you give your child matters. Subscribe now to stay connected and get more insights, strategies, and encouragement to help your child thrive in their own unique way.